I would say probably from like November to early January, I probably didn't have like a video that had more than like 2,000 views on it. And then now it's like
when it's the one, it's the one.
8 million, here you go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Art Not Algorithms podcast. I'm joined here by my co-host, Pertinence.
Hey, that's me. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. I missed you.
And I'm McLean. And we're here joined by...
Noah Floersch.
Wow.
That was crazy.
We're sharing a mic because
that
we only
was
have
so
two.
well articulated.
Today's topic is...
The democratization of media and how... not to make it too complex, man, but Noah's having his moment, rightfully so. Noah is the most talented songwriter I've ever met in the entirety of my life, and he's waited for this time for his entire career. Now, rightfully so, it's happening. We're here to pick his brain, get some of the ins, the outs, the do's, the don'ts, so you don't fucking up when it's your time. Because Noah, he's not fucking anything up, so you can learn from the mogul. This is Yoda. This is Jesus, dare I say. Yeah, I was a little far. Let me redact it. Yoda for sure.
So today's episode is, this is what it's like to have your big break. All right.
Cue the intro.
Cue the intro.
Nice.
Okay.
You can just do that in post.
What up? I'm Noah Floersch. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Right now I'm based in Nashville, but I've been making music since, I guess, like 7th or 8th grade. I've put out my first like official release. I paid like the $10 through TuneCore to get stuff up on Spotify and just not SoundCloud back in 2018. So I've been putting music out for like 5 years now. And the last 2 weeks have been kind of crazy because I posted a snippet of this song called Ghost of Chicago, and it went pretty viral on TikTok and a little bit viral on Instagram Reels. And so the last 2 weeks has been kind of managing a ton of conversation around not only Ghost of Chicago, but the project that is associated with that song, which I don't want to talk too much about. Okay. But there's been a lot of conversation with label people, management people. On the industry side, I've had a lot of conversation with artists and getting their takes on things. And yeah, it's been a pretty crazy 2 weeks. So
Very well articulated, young man.
All right. So
Don't
we have a
touch
couple
me, bro.
questions for you from both of our sides. My first question for you is, what conversations have you had on both sides? So when I say both sides, I mean with artists, because you've had 5 years to establish relationships, you know, Pertinence, you know, some of our other friends who have had label deals and whatnot, and have gone through these industry conversations before. So what conversations have you had with them versus from the other side, the industry conversations where industry people like managers and labels, whatnot, want in on the project and are kind of potentially saying differing things on what is needed. What have both of those conversations been like, and how have they affected your way of thinking about everything?
Sure. This is going to be like a long answer. I have like a lot to say about this. But before I get into the conversations themselves, I want to talk a little bit about
Honey. Honey is a go-to widget. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Is that the sponsor?
Yes, it's the sponsor. First, we gotta talk a little bit. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, should we take a moment?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
This is much more important.
I want to talk a little bit about Ghost of Chicago itself and how that came to be, because the first conversation, okay, what are we doing next conversation I had was with Ross Grebe, and I kind of want to tell the story up until that initial conversation. Ross Grebe is my producer. So on Sunday, March 12th, I woke up feeling like a real piece of junk because I realized
That's all great stories
a real piece of shit. And the reason was that I was out the night before, and I probably woke up around like noon, 1 o'clock, feeling like, oh man, there goes half the day. I don't feel very good. Like, I was just kind of down in the dumps, Sunday scaries type. So I sat down at the piano and I was like, okay, maybe I can do something productive with what's left of my Sunday, basically. And I sat there for 3 hours and nothing really happened. But I had to, kind of like a last-ditch effort for me when I'm writing is like, let's look around the room. Let's see what we got. Do we have anything in the room that we can work with? And the back of I have like an upright piano in the basement, and the back of it has this really cool emblem on it, and it says Made in Chicago. And so I started thinking about Chicago, and
Dude, I just
that's how the
a
chorus
Rector Peli.
happened. The Ghost of Chicago chorus happened, and then the melody and whatever. And the song was written mostly that night. And about an hour after I wrote it, I posted the snippet. Wasn't really thinking that much of it, other than like, yeah, this is great. Like, I like this. I'm super stoked about it. I like how it feels and fits with the rest of this body of work that I'm working on. Like, awesome. Sounds great. And I posted the thing, and I just didn't really think much about it. But then I checked back in on the video like a couple hours later, and it already kind of had some traction on TikTok, and I was like, okay, that's great news, you know? But usually nothing too crazy happens. It's just like a little like, okay, nice, we got something going here. Later that night, I checked again, like right before bed, and it was like creeping up significantly in like the numbers respect. And so I got out of bed, and I made a pre-save link really quick, and then really quick, and then I
You idiot. Learn how to talk,
stupid.
you loser. How embarrassing.
But I didn't post the pre-save link. I just went to bed because I was like, we can pull the trigger on that later. I don't want to like commit to this because I don't really know what's about to happen.
Sure.
But I just like, okay. And I lay down and I tried to go to bed. And I could not go to bed. I just kept watching the number go up and up and up. And it was like, by the time Monday morning rolled around, I was super, super tired, but I had to write at, I think, 9 o'clock. It was myself, Ross Grebe, who's my producer, and Maya Manuela, who's this awesome gal. She's got this song, Multiverse, that is kind of had a moment a little bit ago. She's sweet. She's Nashville as well. We had this write, and I'm going to be honest, it was probably, I did not contribute a whole lot because my mind was just other places. The right got over and Maya left, and I sat Ross down, and I was like, we need to talk about this thing. Because at this point he knew about it, but it was just like whatever. And I think at this point it had probably like 700,000 views or something like that, which for me at that time was a lot. Now obviously the goalpost has shifted as far as what is a lot and what isn't a lot. But 2 weeks ago, that's like, okay, we might put out this song next.
Capitalize on the fact that today is April 1st, and this was on March 12th.
This was on March 12th.
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, this song was conceptualized at the piano, not being finished like written, not being finished mixed, not being recorded. That's
crazy.
Just nuts. Yeah, that's
crazy.
Nuts, man.
Which is like, you're one to talk because you're cranking out music like crazy. But even still, like, the turnaround is
Just crazy,
is nuts.
especially with that amount of pressure, like, on top of it.
Yeah.
And then how well it was executed, how just...
Bro, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
So-
it's almost unbelievable.
Spent a week in the basement.
Yeah, so Ross and I sit down, and this is the first conversation. So now we're back. We're talking about conversations. This is the first conversation that I had, like a real conversation that I had about this song. And it was with Ross, and it was mostly a logistical conversation. What we had planned for the rest of this year was we had these 5 songs that were slated to be released, just kind of singles, and those have all been shelved now, and will maybe come out at some point. Maybe they don't ever come out. They're really good though, so hopefully they do. But they've all been shelved, and that was a decision we made that Monday afternoon. We said we're gonna.
While the video was still at 700,000?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It was growing quick. And so we decided we were going to shelve those, and we were going to focus on this song because it was a really, really cool song, and we were going to basically move this project that was slated for 2024 up. So that's what's up. And
It's also March of 2023, so...
Yeah,
so
yeah, right.
Now you're moving
Right.
that up, too, which
Right.
is just crazy.
So we had that conversation the day after, and then later that night, I wrote the bridge. That was like the last part of the song that we had to put together, and we laid down some key parts for it. Yes, and then we spent the next week like fleshing the thing out, and we don't really need to go into that because that's like not the most interesting part of this story. Conversations. So that was the initial conversation I had with Ross Grebe. Probably starting right around Tuesday afternoon, I just start getting hit up by every label and every label's mother, like crazy. Basically, everybody's reaching out via Instagram DM or the email I have attached to my Instagram. And I'm self-managed, so I have no representation on the sync side. I have no management. It's a real bare bones operation.
And
and it's a very much a skeleton crew. And so I start scheduling all these calls, and I start scheduling. I'm not really a calendar guy, so I'm scheduling them in like the reminders app of my phone, which is just awful, and I shouldn't do that. And like,
Have you become a calendar guy?
I've been converted. I am now a calendar guy out of necessity. I made it through high school. I made it through college without having like a single entrance into like Google Calendar or like Apple Calendar, and I am now a calendar man.
That should be a required like high school class.
It should be. It absolutely should
do your
be.
taxes. Right after that, we're gonna fill out your
Time
to-do list for
management,
the
bro.
week. Yeah,
Time
sure.
management. I've
Even
learned a lot
better.
about time management in the last 2 weeks. And so I started having these conversations. If you're someone who's having what we're calling, I guess, a moment, this is going to happen. Like, people are going to come out of the woodwork, and they're going to want to talk to you, and they're going to want to figure out what your lane is and what you do. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The way I look at it is it's like a peek behind the industry curtain, so to speak. So the initial week, I had probably 10 to 15 phone calls, nothing too crazy, or Zooms or whatever, with label people, starting around like Wednesday. It was with folks from Sony, folks from Warner, Atlantic, we can list them all off, Republic, whatever. And then like a bunch of their subsidiary labels and stuff like that. So there's probably like there's probably like 5 different branches of Sony that I'm like in conversation with right now, which like yeah. So a big question I started asking them after I'd gone through a couple of these calls and like gotten their spiel, because every label is basically the same machine. It's just different people operating the machine, right? So what I found to become like a very, very important part of the conversation is like, one, what are these people like? Like, are these good people? Can I vet them to the best of my abilities over Zoom or in person or whatever, and determine like, are these people that I want like around my art, you know? And then also, like, what if any are this particular label or this particular distributor's differentiators? You know what I mean? And I bring that up, and oftentimes they're like, oh, we've got like really good playlist pitching, or we've got like a really good viral marketing team. Those are red flags. Like, if somebody is saying that their viral marketing team is like top notch, like a label is saying their viral marketing team is top notch, look into that. Like, see what they've done successfully as far as viral marketing is concerned, and like look at who the lowest like ranked artist is on their roster, and like see if they're doing anything for that person, right? If they're saying like playlisting's not super important anymore. It's no secret. That used to be like a big thing in like 2015, and it did make a significant difference. It's not that big of a deal anymore. So those are red flags to like watch out for when you're having these conversations. But yeah, I would say the majority of like the initial wave was just like get to know you, get to know them. And then the people who actually like care, they stick around and they have follow-up conversations and they ask for more music and those kinds of things. So those second round of conversations, you get a little bit more into the weeds, because now they've heard some more of your stuff. They've got a good idea of where you're headed. They already have the discography that you do have to kind of know where you've been. And they start to wonder where they could fit into your puzzle. You know, what kind of pieces they could play, what kind of buckets they could fill, whether that's you need cash up front because you're in a bad living situation. Luckily, I'm not. I'm super, super comfortable right now. I don't really need cash up front. So I don't need like a big advance or anything like that. That's not really something I'm looking for. I would say right now, like, I could sure use some help figuring out what a tour would look like, you know, and that's what I've been telling him, is like, that might be an area of expertise that I could sure use a hand in. So on the label side, like, there are levels to these conversations as you get deeper and deeper. But I would say, like, if somebody's offering you a deal, like, right off the rip, it's probably a bad sign. You need to take your time with these kinds of things, because you're signing away what could be years and years of your work. Managers, they'll reach out too if you don't have management already. And those conversations are not unsimilar, but they're definitely not the same. But it is just like a vetting process as well. Yeah. Anyways. That's my take on it.
It's more likely you'll come out the other side of this. This is kind of a side question. You think it's more likely you'll come out the other side of this with a manager than a label off of this first one, or kind of how are you thinking about that? Also, the artist side of things. If you've talked to other artists, their advice that they've given you.
Let me address your initial question, which was I definitely I'm spread thin right now. Like I haven't written anything in 2 weeks because I haven't had time to write, or like really just the bandwidth. We've been making content. I've been on like a bajillion meetings, which is something that like a manager would be able to kind of take the load off in a sense.
And not to like derail your entire train of thought, but I think it's really cool how you said about the fact that you are in the 1% of artists, right? Even now, obviously you have your goals and your intentions set on things much bigger. But at this current moment, you're in a pocket that in the grand scheme of artists total, most people will not ever reach where you are even before this video took off.
Right.
And with all that, you still are self-governed. You're still running all of this day-to-day stuff by yourself.
Dude, yeah.
And so I think like for a lot of people, especially when you're first starting, it's this idea of like, I need the best mic, I need the best equipment, I need management, I need this, and people are so quick to relinquish a lot of those things. And so very recently I brought on management to help with a lot of the things that you're saying, but I guess just to like add an exclamation point onto it, relax with that, but to add like an exclamation point onto it, I think it's so important that you don't go seeking these people. And I think a lot of the times that's when you do try to force these things, that you do get yourself caught into these, whether it's a contract that's binding you for years and years and years. And then, like you said, that these people stop caring. They stop putting in the effort. And if it is the right match, these people will find you. They will seek you out. And when the time is right, that will happen.
Yeah.
And I guess just doubling down on that even more, just because I know I'm going to lose it. I keep going on my phone, not to text, but because I'm just writing down things I want to remember to tell you. But you touched on when you put out the video for Ghosts of Chicago, you just released it and you didn't check back on it. And I think that's also so important that we learn, especially as creatives and artists who put so much of our own being into our craft and the things that we're presenting to the outside world. I think that we learn to release the detachment to it. It's about planting the seed and then not checking back every single day to see if it's an oak tree or to see whatever. And if you come back and it's a sapling, cool, bro. When you planted it, it was underground. So like even, you know what I mean? And so I think it's just about like learning to not micromanage these things.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not in your head, but we were talking the other night. It's so cool, dude, because you've put out a million fucking videos just like the Ghost of Chicago, just as quality, just as amazing music. And each time you were just, okay, cool, move on to the next one because I know that's tight. I don't need external like reinforcement to tell me how dope it is. Like I know the video looks good. I know the sonics are fresh. I know the pocket's tight. And I think, I don't know, that just I think leads to such a more happy person, especially when that person's entire career work is around like being creative. You know what I mean? You have to be able to like reinforce it. So
Yeah. Dude,
I said not to derail you. And
that's
I
all good. That's all good.
I'm so
I have
sorry.
one thing I want to say about that, and then we can jump back to the artist conversations. That was not like I've been doing this for 5 years. So like, and I really been only taking like the TikTok game or like just the short form whatever stuff like seriously for like 2 years. So I will say that, but like the consistency in that lane and like making that kind of stuff, like it can be brutal.
Yeah.
Cause like I would say probably from like November to early January, I probably didn't have like a video that had more than like 2,000 views on it. Sure. And then now it's like 8 million. Here you go.
Yeah,
so it's like, it can all
Right.
just change. And you're right. Like they're all the exact same. Like if you were to scroll back and go through, like it's the exact same
They're
setup
all
at my
just as
piano,
quality.
just singing. Yeah, there's just something about this song that happened to connect and hit a nerve.
Yeah, right. Hit a nerve. That was well said. Yeah.
But anyways, back to conversations. So we've talked about conversations I've had with folks on the industry side of things, managers, labels, distributors, management agencies. Fine. Yeah, let's talk about on the artist side. So, I mean, there are a couple folks here or associated with Live 2 that I've chopped it up with, Pert included.
I just like to talk. It's not even about
But a few others,
I just like to hear my voice.
I just like to listen. But I've gotten a lot of different perspectives. But the main takeaway from all these different artists that I've talked to is like dude, how lucky are you to have us giving you advice? Because these are some of these folks are like folks who have signed deals and like immediately regretted them. Some of them are in deals and like are doing great and are doing super, super cool things, but their creativity has been blocked by the bureaucracy that they're in. Like there's always like, yeah, I'm signed, but there's always like a yeah, I'm signed, but, and that's something I want to avoid. Like if I ever do sign, it's going to be something where it's going to be a pretty brutal, like, I'm in charge kind of thing, you know, which is not what a lot of labels are looking for. It's going to look much more like a partnership than it will a like, oh my gosh, I'm signing. It's like, no, we're going to be working together in tandem, but I'm controlling everything.
The language we always use is that it's really important that it's a true look across directly.
Yeah.
And that there is no look up, or that there's not a gaze down. And to sign to somebody is literally to then be underneath them.
Yeah.
In like the business relationship, or even just like socially, you know what I mean? It's like there's this like notion of like, hey, we know more than you, we're more powerful than you, and you work for us.
But that is to be in the position we're in, where we're like making a conscious choice to stay independent, is a luxury. Like you do have to like work to get to this point.
Something that both of you guys, we should address the fact. I don't think we've ever talked about the fact that you just have a spatula as a mic until right now.
Thanks, McLean. Wait, what? What? Are you serious?
But something that both of you guys, or I know we've done it fully with Perp, but we've talked about doing it, is drawing up the exact deal that you guys know is like the bare minimum of what you're looking for, like in actual.
Yeah, I haven't seen yours yet. I want to see that.
So we were talking about doing that while you were
It's
out
hot.
there. But I would definitely recommend doing that, because it's made there be a benchmark where instead of other people slapping down a 60-page contract in front of us, we can be like, hey, here's what we would be open to talking about. And it's like a different starting point for conversations that weeds out a lot of the, because I think that a lot of conversations, if you get into like, here's the deals we're talking about, once you start feeding into deal talks, they can waste a lot of time if they're not going to go anywhere. So that avoids a lot of wasted time for sure. Yeah.
100%.
I'm going to hand this back to you.
I'm still confused why like most of these contracts are longer than a page, bro. Like a single page of like, dude, like we sat down and fleshed it out in my notes, dude. It's like 8 dashes that are just like, give me this and I need like nothing. You know what I mean? It's so like overcomplicated because it is so fishy, because it is so goof.
Yeah, I will say like,
Bonk.
I think a big part of why they're so long is because there's so many different ways to make money with your music. Like, because those contracts are going to be talking about merch, and those contracts are going to be talking about distro shit, and they're going to be talking about ticket sales, and you don't want that, like you don't want those to be in there, but like people are going to try and 360 you all the time.
But that's my point,
Yeah.
exactly. Of like, why are we talking about
Why
the
are we
merch?
even talking
Why are we
merch?
doing this?
Right.
Like, what do you have to do with my merchandise? What do you have to do? You know what I
Nothing.
mean? Let's rock out on the tunes.
Nothing.
And obviously I like grossly oversimplified it. Of course there is like legality and stuff. I'm not just saying like a 1-page document, but yeah, dude, like, why am I reading a freaking dictionary? Like to, you know what I mean? To keep creating.
One last thing to add on the label side, and this is something that I've heard from artists more than from the label side, but I've found it to kind of ring true, is like you really need to ask yourself what a label can really tangibly do for you. And a lot of times, like, the only good answer is, I'm not saying all the time, is radio. And like if you think that something could get pushed to radio, which is something that was like a concept I didn't even really consider up until like a couple nights ago when I was having a conversation with an artist who was talking about their situation when they were signed, and how it just becomes like a hit search, and like what can we take to radio versus what are we just gonna let die. And that's not a creative system I want to be a part of. So
Do you think like as the popularity or just like general cultural importance of radio itself is starting to decline? Like, how do you see that evolving in like coming years?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, radio is definitely on its way out to an extent. I'm also, a songwriter, and to songwriters, like, radio is still king as far as like where the big paychecks come. Like, if you're a career songwriter, you're typically writing hits. If you're someone who's a songwriter and an artist, and you're writing for your artist project, you're gonna do weird stuff that isn't meant to be played on the radio. But if you are a career songwriter, you are trying to get to the radio every time you step into a room. So that provides kind of like the goalpost for this whole industry in music. And if that dissolves, where do the songwriters go?
The limited experience I have with radio so far are A-OK by Ty Verdes, Numb Little Bug with M, and Sunroof with Nicky Yor. Like, I know those people, and I'm friends at different levels with each of them. And I would say with each of those songs were already doing 500,000 streams a day before they were even considered for radio, which is definitely an interesting thing to consider. I've heard from multiple different perspectives that labels won't take something even to push it for radio until it's doing that level, which is just kind of an absurd thing.
For context, like, my entire discography 2 weeks ago was getting like 20,000 streams a day. That's 50 some songs getting 20,000 streams a day versus one song getting 500,000 streams a day to be considered for radio. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's nuts.
So for you then, with this like entire, if we're calling it a moment, obviously it's something that people wait on for its entirety, and I don't want to undermine the fact that you are and forever will be a very successful musician already. I don't want to undermine that, like, all like just like this moment came out of nowhere or whatever, but the reality of it, at least for me, I guess, is that you spend all this time just thinking about what is this going to be like when it happens, when everybody's knocking, when I have this song, when I have this amount of momentum, will there be pressure for the next one? Will there be just XYZ, such a number of factors. And so I guess like the way of phrasing the question is, has it been the way that, you saw it when you were 10, 11, thinking of it, and what's different?
I guess when I was a kid, and the way I like thought about music when I was a kid was maybe a little bit different than the way most people think about it. Because, like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be, like, a star or anything. I was just, like the first songs I wrote were because I had, like, crushes on girls.
Nice.
And I was,
Nice.
And I didn't show them to any of them. But it was, like, I don't know, a coping mechanism or something. I honestly don't know what it was, dude.
Just trying to make sense of all these fuzzy feelings.
That's exactly what it was.
Goodness.
Just trying to make sense of it,
Yeah.
actually. And they weren't any good. But then once like high school rolled around and I kind of started taking it more serious, I guess that's when I kind of started envisioning like, whoa, singing on stages and things like that. And I would say right around that time, like, I had a pretty infantile understanding of what like the industry is actually like and what it takes, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. Like, I do not think that I know really much of anything, to be quite honest, about anything. But I know a whole lot more than I did then. So what I imagined in my head was like trash in hotel rooms, was like selling out shows and not thinking logistically how these people are going to find out about these shows. And
isn't that some shit? Where you're like, they don't just show up?
Like, what a terrible realization to have.
Do you remember like maybe not the exact moment, but where you were like, okay, no, like I'm a musician. This is what I'm doing. This is my life.
Yeah.
Elevator pitch. I'm sorry.
I had a couple songs out at this point, but I played a live show with my fraternity called, it was like a fundraiser thing. It was called Backpack in Black, and it was like a battle of the bands kind of a thing. I had a couple songs out at this point, and they were some like Girl from the Sidewalk had a little moment and like whatever, and like they would put it on at like the parties and like point at me and laugh, and it was fine. Not in like a mean way, but they'd be like, "This is your song," right after playing like something by Fetty Wap or something, like just the worst timing.
Somebody singing happy birthday to you.
Right.
You're like, what do I do with my hands right now?
What am I supposed to do
Like,
right now? Like, turn this off. And it's like a 6.5 minute song. I don't think we ever made it through the entire. But I was playing. We got together and we played this like cover band kind of a show. Ross actually played guitar on it, so that was kind of fun. And we built the set list together. And I was just kind of like the front man. So I was singing AC/DC. I was singing just like Neon Trees, stuff like that. Just like real crowd pleaser type stuff. But I was up on stage and like just the energy was super, super real and raw. Like the connection with the audience. And I think that was like why that show specifically is why like I still kind of like blow up even some of my more quieter songs when I do play like full band sets of my own stuff, because I love like having fun on stage and like messing with the crowd and stuff. And it's almost foreign, or I have to go out of my way to like scale things back and like do things softer on stage, which is kind of something I'm working on. But that moment of like, people putting their hands out and you're fucking high-fiving your homies and like that's a very electric feeling. Like even then, it looked like this moment looks way different than what I imagined it would be, especially on just like the logistics side and just like the getting shit done side versus like, oh yeah, people like my music. Like that's what you imagine in your head is like all the comments and all the like on the digital side, all the comments and all like the praise and all the DMs and whatever. It's like yeah. And then you get like a comment that's like, I like it better with the horns in it, or I like it better with I like the version that you sang live, and I like the and it's like, well, you can't play. Like
I don't care.
You just have to let that roll off your shoulders. That's something I never really had hate comments. I had like a really visceral one that I woke up to this morning. He said something like I do not care about this, like whatever. He was like really mean, and I was like, usually I just like let it go, but I was like, you have hate in your heart, and I feel bad for you. I'm pretty sure that's what I said, and he deleted it.
Yeah.
So then I just had this floating comment that said, you have hate in your heart, and I feel bad for you. And it had like 30 likes, and I was like, "This looks so weird,
dude." It's so crazy. People just be saying shit, and most of the time they're like a fan, and you'll call them out on it, like you said, and they'll either delete it or all of a sudden it's like, "Hey, I was just joking. I love your music, man. Like I've been here forever."
Yeah, too bad that those exist in the world. That's something you don't think about when you're like imagining how cool it's going to be an artist in your head. You're not imagining people booing you.
Yeah,
but it does happen.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, there it is.
My new thing is just nobody likes you. That's what I say. They just give me something crazy. I'm just like, nobody likes you, man.
Nice.
Anyways.
Dylan, should we go on to the game portion of this?
All right, so on today's game, in honor of Noah's Nebraskan roots,
oh no,
we're playing a game that I like to call Law or Lie. Nebraska Edition. All right, so many decades ago, there were laws put into state laws that don't necessarily apply anymore and can sound kind of unbelievable, okay? So I've got a couple that were true Nebraskan laws and a couple that are fake. So you guys have to decide if it was a law or a lie. All right, number one.
Dylan.
It is illegal for bar owners to sell beer unless they're simultaneously brewing a kettle of soup. Is that a law or a lie in Nebraska?
Bro, you make me overthink more than half of these females, dude. It's crazy. I'm thinking, all right, I'm not going to overthink this time. I'm going to say that's a real law. That's it.
That is a ridiculous lie.
No, dude, he's in your head, bro. I'm telling you. He's going to drop it on you right after this, bro.
That is not a law, dude. There's no way that's a law.
You're going lie?
I'm going lie.
Watch this. Watch
I'm going
this.
lie.
I'm going to hop on that lie train. I'm also going lie.
Dylan, reinforce me positively.
All aboard the lie train.
That was a law. That was a Nebraskan law. That was a Nebraskan
I'm sorry.
law.
I have never once seen a soup kettle.
You gotta think about how his brain works, bro. He's a freak, dude.
bro. That's crazy.
He's in there, dude. He's an intellectual, bro. He's 4 steps ahead.
These are law books from decades and if not hundreds of years ago.
Law, or this was once a law?
Once a law. May or may not be in effect, but certainly not exercised.
Wow.
Do you know the reasoning for that?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I'm not a Nebraskan expert. You're sitting next to one.
Who's getting in these positions where they're like, hey, guy,
Where the hell is your soup? like I'm the
where's the tomato bisque?
I'm the health inspector. like this is not a kettle. This is a
Damn.
bowl
Damn.
or something. I don't know.
They like come in, he just starts sweating. He's like, fuck, dude, we're out of broth.
It is mandatory to learn at least one line dance before graduating high school in Nebraska. Is that a law or a lie?
People have been telling me you can't wear a sundress in Tennessee. I'm going to double down and say that that's not the most preposterous thing I've ever heard. I also think for you to go law to lie would be, it'd be too easy. It'd be the flip of a coin. So you would go 2 laws in a row. So that's also a law. The next one will be a lie. Don't switch the order.
This I feel like is a law because in school we had to learn line dances.
No.
And like why would they or square dancing? Like we did a little bit of both. And why would they make us do that if like they legally didn't have to?
Government propaganda.
That's what I'm going with.
We had to do that in Nashville too.
No
at our
way.
school, yeah, in 4th grade. However, just to possibly level the playing fields, I'm gonna go lie and just hope that Noah got it wrong again and that he's in the hot seat.
That was a lie.
Bro, why would they make us do that?
I want to be the best there ever was.
Sucks. I don't know anything about Nebraska. That sucks.
I don't know a single thing about that place. How could I not know that?
It is illegal to paint a horse to look like a zebra in Nebraska. Is that a law or a lie?
I'm gonna go law.
It's not your turn.
I'm going anyways. I wanted to go first.
Man. There's a big zoo in Omaha, and they've got real life zebras, and I wonder if it has something to do with that. And like maybe they were trying to fake getting a zebra in the zoo or something.
Damn.
In my
like,
head, that's
hold
why
on a
this
second.
law would have happened. So I'm gonna say law.
I'm going to herd mentality it. We'll go law.
That was a lie.
Fuck, man.
I hate
That was a
you.
lie.
Dude, I
hate
read that
you.
on the internet, though, somewhere. I swear I read that somewhere, bro.
3 on his hometown. Does he lose his citizenship?
Home state.
Did you make that up?
Yeah.
You concocted that?
Yeah.
Nice, bro.
That's a great one.
That is a good one.
I hate that like was layered. Like I hate that we do have like a pretty crazy zoo. Ask me anything about the zoo. Ask me zoo law.
In this Nebraskan town, it is illegal for a man to be seen with a shaved chest.
With a shaped chest.
Yes.
I'm gonna say Grand Island. Wait, no. I'm gonna go with. Sorry, in my head, I don't know why I went back to that. I'm gonna say law.
Okay, now my thought process is like, do I just guess the same as Noah every time and just make sure that I don't lose?
I'll do it before you do. Law. Be different, McLean. What's wrong with you, bro?
All right, I'm down to level the playing field.
No,
I'll go
don't do
lie.
it.
I'll go
Oh.
lie.
Damn it. I didn't really mean it.
That is a law in Omaha.
It's a law.
Yes.
In Omaha.
Yes.
said in Grand Island.
Well, no.
Oh, dude,
No,
McLean's
no.
drinking whole
I was
milk.
just throwing you off the scent. Yeah, 1 to 2. You're in
McLean's
it
gonna have to
now.
eat a whole spoon of crunchy peanut butter,
I'm gonna
dude.
start
It's
trying
not gonna
again.
be good.
I felt like I was down and out, but I'm actually gonna start trying again. So you guys are screwed.
I'm gonna start trying again.
Barbers are forbidden from eating onions between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Is that a law or a lie?
One more time.
Barbers cannot eat onions between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
McLean is going lie immediately.
I'm also saying lie.
I'm critically evaluating. I'll do it for the Vine So Crazy. It's a law.
That is a law.
They never met him so fresh. They never make him so nice.
he's safe, so it's just between you.
Yes, yes.
Dude, you can take the mic. I don't even want any.
All right, for this last question, is this a law or a lie? Anyone caught fishing without a permit must spend a night in jail, but will be released the next day with a freshly caught fish in their possession.
With the freshly caught fish or a
freshly caught fish.
So somebody from the jail will go out and fish until they catch something.
Presumably.
And give it to them.
Presumably.
I'm gonna have to go lie. That seems a little ridiculous. But at the same time, how much creativity does it take to come up with that as an answer?
A lot. You don't think so?
And so, how creative is Dylan? Pretty creative.
Yeah, man.
All right.
So I'm gonna go lie.
I'm gonna go law Because I know it's illegal to fish without a license. I do have a lifetime license.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the barrier to entry on that?
It's just money, I think.
Okay. All right.
Actually, my grandpa did have like the hookups. He may have gotten that for free. I'm going law just so we don't tie.
That was a lie.
This is the worst day of my life.
Oh, let's go. Nebraska boy
Dang,
loses.
that's
baby.
actually wild. I only got one question right. That
So
stinks.
what does he have to do?
So I have a fan fiction written out about Noah that he'll have to read
Bro.
at the end of this podcast. It was generated. It was a generated fan fiction.
Generated by whom? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean it was generated?
I don't want to name any sources.
Dude.
So yeah, we have a Noah Floersch fan fiction for you to read at the end. At the
At
end
the
of the
end.
episode.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
No way.
I guess I'm going to hand this back to you now.
Is it hot and steamy? Do you know?
You'll see.
Okay.
You'll see.
Considering you've had 5 years of experience up to this point, and so you're not fresh into being an artist who's having a moment, and you have a base level of understanding and the luxury that you've said in order to think about it this way. Some people are not so lucky, and they have their moment a lot earlier in their career, and especially coming from a smaller town that doesn't have much music scene and whatnot. If you were, 5 years younger having this moment, what advice would you give yourself, or also what advice would you give somebody not you having that moment right now?
I would say the perspective shift, the perspective shift that I've had in the last 2 weeks went from like me feeling like I needed like industry attention to like the industry feeling like they need mine in a sense. So like, put it this way, like let's say you are me 5 years ago and you have, I don't even know if TikTok was around 5 years ago, but let's say you have a TikTok go crazy 5 years ago and the labels start reaching out and whatever. I think like the perspective that you need to be able to put yourself in is labels are selling themselves at this point. Like they're pitching themselves to you and not the other way around. Like you're not auditioning for these guys. They're trying to bring you in. A&Rs, before you're signed, like an A&R is a salesperson trying to pitch you on their company and why their company's good and why it's better than, and you should listen. I mean, you get good information that way. But you also get a sense of what the workforce is like over there. Like if I ask a major label A&R what their differentiators are and they say playlisting and they say viral marketing, I know that they probably don't have a pretty good workforce because who is this guy that they're sending to me? They should be sending me like somebody who knows what they're talking about. A continuation of that theme as far as like advice is concerned, like take your time with it. Don't make any rash decisions. Like if you're having a moment, get the song ready. I would say get the song ready as quick as possible. Like let that be the focus of the pressure. Do not let like a signing be the focus of that pressure. There's no need for that right off the rip. Remember when you were a kid and like everybody, like you just heard be yourself all the time, and it just never really resonated until like your teenage years and everybody was trying to get you to be something, and then like finally be yourself, and like as an artist especially, like really trying to be like, what is myself? Who am I? Like, and digging into that actually carries a lot of gravity.
Yeah.
But like be yourself like 10 years ago didn't mean anything to me. Now
It
means,
also
like,
takes
everything.
time to find out what that means, like you're saying. It's
Right.
like you've had the 5 years now to figure out who is yourself and what you are trying to like push.
Right. So giving advice like know your self-worth, like I don't know if that will really ring true to someone who is like having a moment and just like doesn't know. YouTube's got everything. Like what does a record label typically look like? Watch a video on it. Like actually you can study like the game to an extent. Obviously behind closed doors there's stuff that goes on and like there's industry secrets certainly, but like you can learn a lot from YouTube. Yeah. Don't listen to like music marketing guys. They're not going to teach you anything, but like you can listen to like a lawyer who makes money on the side by posting like case studies and stuff like that of contracts that he's worked on and like breaking them down and stuff like that. Like it's not fun. Neither is a lot of stuff that you have to do if you want to make this your job.
in a more like direct line of advice onto that, I think Donald Passman's like a great whistleblower for that, and he's literally just like you're saying, a lawyer who doesn't have any like biases or things wrapped up in that, and he's got this thick ass book, and maybe a little too on the nose, but still I think an important read for everybody. And the book is literally titled Everything You Need to Know About the Music Industry. He consistently revises it every, I think, like 5 years, maybe a little bit longer.
I need a new
every decade.
edition. Mine is old.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, but he updates it as things keep changing, and to a degree, it's subjective. You know what I mean? But I think it's the least like biased opinion because he's just on that side of things. You know, his money's not tied. I mean, to an extent, but like it's not as direct as like the label or whatever.
Right.
And just something to like tag onto it. I really liked what you said of like these people are coming to look for you. And like one of my favorite lines I've heard between like a dialogue of an artist and the label is the favorite line from the label is always, "What do you need? You know, what can we do?" And like the coolest response I've heard to that is like, "You guys called me." Like,
right.
what are you saying? I mean, you're the one that just like, you got my phone number. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you need from me type stuff? Or what can you do for me rather? And just piggybacking off of that, and you were touching on it for sure, but it's just like, you got to bet on yourself. And that's like, I think becoming harder and harder to do just because people are getting so big so fast. And it's like, something that me and McLean throw around all the time, and people are just like, when we make this mistake here, we do this, it's like, oh, like, that must have really bothered you. And my response all the time is, yeah, it would if I didn't think I could do it again.
Yeah.
And that, like, I wouldn't that I'm not going to do it 10 more times this year. And so I think, like, at the very least, and just, like, what my 2 cents for whatever they're worth, probably, like, a penny and some change, but like
just less than 2
yeah,
cents.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. but at least bet on yourself long enough to see how it affects you from an independent standpoint, because these checks do take months to come in. These things do take a while to change, and they're so good at scaring you, man. They know exactly the lines. That is their job, to be, you know, to be spokespeople, to convince you of this, to persuade you, and they're good at it, man. They're good at it, but something that's just kind of glanced over all the time is there's real money in this. There's real money in doing this independently if you do it consistently enough, and maybe that doesn't have like some of the same shine, but like, dude,
if it's what you want to do, like there's
saying,
a massive growing middle class of musicians that like just exists.
I'm
bro.
so glad
like
you just said that.
It's a real thing.
Sure.
I have a friend, Andrea Von Campen. She's a folk artist from Nebraska, and we had a conversation about this. She's ahead of her time. We had a conversation about this like 2.5 years ago. And she was like talking about her position, and she was signed to kind of like this small little, kind of like a boutique label basically, or distributor. And she was talking about how she makes a decent amount of money. She's not like rolling in it or anything, but like she would call herself like middle class, you know, like you're not a starving artist. Like you can not be huge and not be a starving artist.
Yeah.
Like there is space in those places.
The business model of the music industry beforehand allowed that, like, did not allow that to be a thing.
Right.
You were either in your deal and have not recouped yet, or you're making $30 million for the label, and that's how they make all their money, and how they can afford to shelve 49 out of 50 people is by that business model. So now it is a thing because more people, there's that scale of, it's not just independent or with a label, there's a whole scale in between that now.
And that's very true, but I also want to, and while like the middle class musician is definitely a thing, I think more what I was saying with the shine is like, a lot of the time that shine is a facade anyways. And so like I personally, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to go about it, but you could make just the same amount of money, if not more. Maybe you won't get the Billboard, you won't be on Billboard because you're not playing the radio game. Maybe you won't get to headline with, you know, this person or this person because you're not signed to the same entity, but you're doing 1,500 people a show. Your merch sells out in seconds. You have real people that care about this and that are dedicated to this community. And a lot of the times, I think there's more money in doing it independent. And maybe there's not the flash, the glimmer of it, but like, I don't know. I would much, and I'll botch this for sure. I'm not up to date on my precious gems, or what is that, precious stones type stuff. I don't know. I would much rather have like a solid fucking chunk of silver that's thoroughly a piece of silver than something that's like plated in fool's gold. You know what I mean? And then it rusts and it's making my neck green and stuff. I would much rather have like sterling silver that's gonna last forever. than something that looks really great for like a month or two, but then, like I was saying, it starts rust, it gets flimsy, like the chains are fucking breaking off, like the links rather.
That was good.
Thanks. I wish yeah, thanks. What comes like superficially to head when you think about it for a second of like, oh damn, like if I would have known this, I would have gone about that a little bit differently.
Yeah. It's happened a couple times now where I've had a video go crazy with the song just being in a poor state. And I think I want to restructure how I tease my music because
Sure.
I really don't like playing the game of like, oh gosh, we got to finish this song so that then we can release it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I much prefer the game of, oh, the song's already done. Everybody messes with it. Great. And that's a scheduling thing more than anything else. But it's something that you, if you're an indie artist, have to like worry about on your own. Like that's like your own thing. So I've had a couple songs where that's been the case. And then you just have to try and keep everybody engaged instead of being able to send them directly to your Spotify or Apple Music because the song's already out. That's brutal, dude. It's working right now pretty sick, which is great. And that was like a big concern of mine. Like we went kind of radio silent for like a week and didn't post anything. And then our first video back is like doing well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like that does not happen every time.
Sure.
Like,
If real quick, not to detract from it, but I love that you just said that, and that's something that we've like reworked in the process of these past 4 months.
and it's working.
And yeah, so to pull out like some concrete evidence that we're not just like hypothesizing about this stuff. For Willy Wonka, which was our lead single off of Chapter 1, which we did the whole pre-save campaign for, really pushed it before it came out for maybe a month. I would say in total we did probably like 1.5 million views like for that song before it came out, and maybe did, what do you think, like a couple thousand pre-saves, like maybe like 3?
Yeah, 3, 4.
3, yeah, like 3.
Which is really solid.
Nuts! It's
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah,
that's
I don't
crazy.
want to take away from that at all. But then a song like that, where it has around like 3,000 pre-saves, say off of like 1.5 million views, came out doing, on its first day, it did close to 7,000 streams, and from there, a week later, it was doing 4,000 streams a day. A week after that, down to around like 3, and now it sits around like 3 or so a day.
That's nuts.
To contrast that though, on Chapter 2, Big Sexy was our lead single for that.
Right.
After Willy Wonka had happened, I sat down with McLean and just had this gut feeling of like, that song should have been bigger. Willy Wonka, I mean, that song should have, we had momentum behind it. I know people enjoyed this, but it was played out before it came out. And it was tough. And the culture around pre-saves themselves, like, is changing already. Yeah. I think when it was before, it was more of a novelty. It was like, oh, we want to help this DIY thing, and now it's becoming something that's kind of played out.
Laborious. People are sick of waiting around.
Sure. And so now, and these are both, neither of these songs have been on playlisting, not a single editorial. These are streams coming only from fans and people who care about it. So just to contrast now, I sat down with McLean, I said, I want to restructure this. He agreed to where let's not put a single thing out until the music is out, ready to listen to. We did almost, and now the campaign has gotten to a bigger point, but when the song had just came out, we did almost identical views for both of the songs. So like as close as an eye test as you could possibly get it to.
Views on TikTok.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And Big Sexy, Willy Wonka, like I said, comes out doing like 7,000 streams a day. Big Sexy, first day, with it being out, comes out doing 16,000 streams in the first day. So over double. About a week later, Big Sexy's doing 14,000 streams a day. So the drop-off is significantly less. Now Big Sexy's doing around 9,000 streams a day.
Bro, that's crazy.
But I say all that to say it's so important in this instant gratification culture. And the way that TikTok is structured, it's extremely momentum-based. Nobody is coming back for you, bro. Nobody's coming back. They don't care. You're not important. And that's so harsh, but it's the reality of it. Nobody's coming back to look at a feed. Here's another real statistic. 98% of the views on any given TikTok are from people who don't follow me on my For You page. And I'm looking here just to really get that across. But 98%. 2% of the people that see my videos are people that care. I'm not being a dickhead. Nobody cares, bro, and they won't. They're not coming back. Yeah. And so if they can't get it right there, it's so much harder to bring people back. Yeah. And granted, there are very unicorn situations. I know for a fact people very much care about this song. This is I agree. I couldn't agree more. But again, I don't for the masses, for like the 90% of people where you're not getting 10 million views. That shifts the paradigm. I mean, you have one of the most anticipated songs on the planet coming out right now. That's insane. That's insane. But for the people who are sitting in those, there's real money in the 500,000 views, the 700,000 views. But those where you're not having the trending audio, you're not those the audios themselves are reminding people of this song. And when your main source of people checking on you is coming from the source itself, from the artist itself, it's so important that they can grab onto it and hold on to it.
I think that this is an interesting thing because one thing to consider is obviously how much music you're able to drop because of your processes on creating music.
Sure.
And so I think this is, in a way, similar to how we were talking earlier about songwriters and radio and whatnot, and it kind of affects the process in a way, which is strange because some people, like Noah, on the other hand, we will probably still have to do some videos beforehand because of how few songs are going to be coming out per year for the most part. So I don't know if it's a model that's usable for everyone. And it might be a luxury of the fact that you're
Also
able
true.
to make
Maybe a
so
little
much.
brash. Maybe a little brash.
But it's a very good point. And if you can do it in a way that is artistically in line with what you have envisioned, then that's great.
What you can do either way though is like have the song done before you do the tease and stuff.
Yeah.
Like have it done.
Yeah.
Like Ghost of
Also
Chicago was not even. It had just begun.
Sure,
you know.
sure,
So,
even that.
So.
But then every scale after that, 2 million to 3 million to 5 million, I think it increasingly buys you a little bit more time of like more people are bought
100%.
in. Now this is here. But for you, it was even still, bro. I mean, like we were saying, dude, 3 weeks later, the song is done. It has a release date and people have that. So even then, I mean, like if it's not going to be out right away, cool. But like, I just think the era of like a song coming out and believing that people will care in 3 months, like, I just it's tough, man. It's too accessible because if it's not there, if there's not a finish line in sight to where like, okay, I can hold out for that. I really like that. But when it's just ambiguous and it's just like, oh, we don't know. I can scroll 6 more times and get another dude that's doing it pretty good too. Maybe it's not the same thing, but that dude I can get sooner. I can get it now. So not to rush the art. I think the art obviously forever comes first. I also want to make it super clear that like me just coming at it that passionately comes from like a place of just wanting everybody to win. And I put out 70 songs like the other way. So and obviously it's very anecdotal for me, but I'm just saying I stripped the screw, bro. Like I did it already. And it just, and not that it can't work differently for different people, but I don't know. I just came at that from such a passionate angle, but it's only because like I want people to win and like it's right there. And like that moment isn't guaranteed and people get it and then it just slips through their fingers because it is so finite, it is so fickle, and it breaks my heart. Man. Not gonna happen with this fucking song. This shit is disgusting,
This
but
one's a different game.
absolutely I see where you're going with it for sure.
What is it? National Jinx Me Day? What is happening? No way.
April Fools!
Should we cut it here and do the thing?
Oh yeah. So this doesn't have a title, but this is a fan fiction. This is a fan fiction about me. All right.
Dylan starts biting his lip.
You'll never guess who wrote it.
I'm just kidding. That was bad. I'm just kidding.
Noah was a rising pop star with a voice that could light up any stage. He had just finished his latest concert and was walking backstage, all sweaty. Just kidding, not out of the sweaty. When he saw a scarecrow propped up against the wall. What is going on? Noah couldn't help but be curious about the scarecrow.
Oh, I'm so uncomfortable, dude.
It was an
so
odd sight
uncomfortable.
to see backstage at a concert, and it looked like it had been there for a while. As Noah got closer, he noticed that the scarecrow had a small note attached to his chest. The note read, If you can make me dance, I will grant you one wish. Noah chuckled to himself. Ha ha ha. This has got to be some kind of joke, he thought. But being the adventurous type, he decided to give it a shot. He began to sing and dance, hoping to make this scarecrow move. At first, nothing happened. But then, as Noah's voice grew louder and more passionate, he noticed the scarecrow's arms started to twitch. Before he knew it, The Scarecrow was dancing alongside him. After the impromptu performance, the Scarecrow spoke. "You have done well, Noah. Your wish shall be granted." Noah was surprised to hear the Scarecrow speak. "What is your name?" he asked. "I am known as Scarecrow," the Scarecrow replied. All right. Noah thought for a moment about what he wanted to wish for. He had everything he could ever want, but there was one thing missing: a true friend. "I wish for a friend," Noah said, looking at the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow smiled. "Your wish is my command." Suddenly, the Scarecrow transformed into a real person standing before Noah. He introduced himself as Jack, a farmer who had been turned into a scarecrow by a witch. Noah was thrilled to have met a new friend. He invited Jack to join him on tour, and together they traveled the world, performing for fans and living their dreams. Noah knew that he had made a lifelong friend in Jack, and he would never forget the day he met the Scarecrow who brought him a true friend. That is much tamer
Steve?
than I thought.
No, Steve.
I thought I was gonna start like kissing up on the Scarecrow or something.
Yeah, come
Okay.
on. Find some
Nice.
straw in
Nice.
Noah's room the next day. Just a couple of hay
loose,
barrels.
loose strands of straw. What's up? Or no, goodbye. See you later. I'm Noah Floersch. This is the Art Not Algorithms podcast. Oh yeah, and listen to Ghost of Chicago.
Also that.
It's out, baby. Go listen to it.
Hey.
All right.
Kick Grabo,
Thanks.
sayonara, arrivederci.